New motorcycle prices are about to collapse, and if you buy now, you could lose thousands. The market is shifting, dealers are panicking, and riders who wait will win. Watch until the end, because I'll show you exactly how to turn this chaos into your advantage. The coming cliff. Buying a new motorcycle before 2026 could be the most expensive mistake you ever make. The industry has been riding high on inflated price tags for too long, and the cracks are finally visible. Analysts tracking the U.S. powersports market reported that new motorcycle sales weakened noticeably through 2024, dipping by mid-single digits as rising interest rates and consumer caution slowed demand. That softness did not reverse in early 2025, leaving dealerships with inventory that is aging faster than buyers are showing up. Harley-Davidson itself confirmed the pain when its first quarter shipments dropped by more than one-third year-over-year. Revenue fell by more than one quarter, and executives went so far as to withdraw their financial guidance, a move that spooked Wall Street. Valuation trackers such as Black Book have started warning that the pandemic-era bubble in powersports pricing is unwinding. Prices are normalizing, which is a polite way of saying that what went up must now come down. For riders who rushed into showrooms in 2024, the sting will be real. They paid thousands above what the same machines will fetch in 2 years' time. Owners today are discovering that the resale value of their expensive toys is already sliding, and by the time the 2026 reset arrives, they may feel as though they were robbed in daylight. But early warnings are only half the story. To understand why the collapse is locked in, you need to look at the tidal wave of supply already racing toward Western shores. The supply wave. Factories in India and China are already building the bikes that will blow up Western price tags. In Pune, the Bajaj Triumph partnership is churning out the Speed 400 and Scrambler 400X motorcycles that carry British branding but sell for under $6,000 in the United States. Royal Enfield has crossed the $500,000 mark in sales for its Hunter 350, a bike that undercuts nearly every competitor while carrying classic styling. Meanwhile, CFMOTO has been executing an aggressive expansion plan, planting dealers across North America and Europe while pricing its 400 and 800 series far below Japanese rivals. Scale is the critical detail. When low-cost factories double their output, they set new global price anchors. A rider who once assumed a Triumph badge required a $10,000 check now sees the same logo on a machine that costs nearly half. A shopper walking into a dealership cannot unsee that contrast. The psychological ceiling on what Western brands can charge has been lowered, whether they admit it or not. This is not just competition, it is a structural reset. By 2026, the West will be drowning in affordable mid-displacement models from brands that no longer look foreign or fringe. Buyers will realize the same brand cachet they once paid dearly for now costs thousands less. And when buyers start expecting less, it is the dealers on the ground who feel the squeeze first. If you're already seeing how crazy this is getting, hit that like button so more riders know what's coming. And drop a comment. Have you noticed prices shifting near you? Showroom panic. Dealers are not selling bikes. They are sitting on ticking time bombs. Each unsold motorcycle on the lot costs money every single day. Floor plan financing, the loans dealers use to carry inventory, racks up interest charges even while bikes collect dust. In the past, dealerships could rely on steady foot traffic to move units. But by mid-2025, walk-ins had slowed dramatically. Instead of customers asking, "Do you have it?" they now ask, "How much can you take off?" That subtle shift flips the balance of power. Desperate to keep cash flowing, dealerships are already dangling rebates, trade-in credits, and low APR financing schemes. A salesperson who once acted like a gatekeeper is now chasing prospects to the parking lot, begging them not to leave. Early signs of stacked incentives show how quickly the tide has turned. The dealer who used to profit handsomely on each bike is now willing to accept razor-thin margins just to keep the lights on. For buyers, This represents a once-in-a-generation reversal. The person across the desk is no longer in control. You are. As 2026 approaches and inventory continues to age, the desperation will only deepen, making discounts unavoidable. Yet there is another accelerant to this fire. The political decisions that were supposed to defend domestic industry, but instead broke its pricing model. Smart riders wait for the right price, but never ride without the right kit. Get yours today. Link is in the description. Tariff shock. Trade walls did not raise motorcycle prices. They broke them. When Section 301 tariff exclusions lapsed in 2024, categories such as electric motorcycles suddenly faced new import taxes. Brands scrambled to adjust their supply chains, and Harley-Davidson even cited the renewed tariff threat as one reason for withdrawing its guidance. Instead of creating stability, the policy produced chaos. Dealers and manufacturers were caught between over-ordering to hedge against higher costs and under-ordering to avoid unprofitable stock. The result was predictable: mismatched inventory, uneven pricing, and consumer confusion. By the start of 2025, some bikes were stuck in warehouses at inflated costs, while others trickled in too late to catch demand. Such imbalances cannot hold. To clear the mess, companies will slash prices, and by 2026, those markdowns will hit with force. Governments promised protection for workers and manufacturers, but riders received volatility instead. Tariffs distorted pricing structures and undermined trust, creating the conditions for desperate fire sales just to restore balance. The spreadsheet generation. Gen Z riders do not haggle, they calculate. For decades, motorcycle buyers walked into showrooms and accepted the ritual of back-and-forth bargaining, but younger riders have shattered that script. They do not treat the dealer as a gatekeeper of information. Instead, they arrive with spreadsheets built from online forums, social media groups, and dealership databases. They compare out-the-door prices across state lines, weigh financing offers against cash rebates, and demand transparency on fees that once passed unchallenged. This shift in buyer behavior is more than a nuisance for sales staff. It is a structural change in how motorcycles are valued. When every rider can pull up a phone and expose a dealer's inflated markup, the psychological leverage evaporates. Practical commuters, scooters, and mid-displacement standards are suddenly seen as smart investments, while overpriced luxury cruisers look like traps. Younger buyers are willing to wait, willing to travel, and willing to expose bad deals publicly. That combination makes inflated sticker prices unsustainable. The new buyer calls out the scam and does it with math. And when the customer base stops tolerating games, the manufacturers built on prestige and tradition feel the pain first. And that pain has already begun to show in the most iconic American brand of all, Legends in Trouble. One quarter nearly erased Harley's swagger. For years, the company presented itself as bulletproof, claiming loyal riders would always pay for heritage and style. Then the numbers came in. Harley-Davidson's first quarter shipments fell by roughly 1/3 compared to the prior year, revenue dropped by more than 1/4, and executives withdrew their annual guidance. For a brand that had built its reputation on stability, this was an earthquake. The story behind the numbers is not complicated. Younger buyers were not lining up to pay $20,000 or more for heavyweight cruisers. Tariff uncertainty raised costs, and higher interest rates made financing painful. Dealerships began to report aging stock and declining traffic. Once, Harley could rely on its name to demand a premium. Now, even loyalists hesitate when the same dollars can buy two brand-new mid-sized imports with modern features. For investors, Harley's stumble signaled that legacy strength was not enough to weather a changing market. For riders, it showed that even icons will discount when reality forces them. The days of unchallenged premium pricing are over. But while Harley struggles to defend its throne, factories half a world away are working at full throttle to flood the global market with affordable alternatives. Factories at full chat. Assembly lines in Pune and Zhejiang are not slowing down, they are doubling down. In India, the Bajaj Triumph partnership has already scaled production of the Speed 400 and Scrambler 400X, and output is set to rise steadily to meet international demand. In China, CFMOTO has been expanding its dealer footprint aggressively, shipping thousands of motorcycles that undercut Japanese and American rivals on price. Royal Enfield, no stranger to scale, has surged exports with models like the Hunter 350, capturing value-conscious riders worldwide. The math is straightforward. Bikes that cost only a fraction to build overseas now arrive in the United States and Europe priced thousands below domestic competitors. This undermines Western margins at every level. A dealer who once depended on high markups for survival now has to compete against imports that look stylish, perform capably, and sell for half. Western manufacturers cannot cut costs fast enough to match that model. What results is a pincer movement. Legacy brands lose volume at the top, while value brands flood the entry and mid-level segments. By 2026, the imbalance between supply and demand will be impossible to ignore, forcing markdowns across the board. And that imbalance becomes especially painful when old inventory collides with fresh model launches. The model year collision. 2026 will be the year-old stock collides with new launches. Every manufacturer has a pipeline of updates and refreshes, and those releases are timed to keep the market excited. Under normal conditions, outgoing models clear steadily with modest discounts before the next wave arrives. But today's environment is not normal. We already see signs of dealer lots carrying motorcycles for months past their prime. And by the time new 2026 designs land, the backlog will be severe. That collision creates one inevitable outcome: steep markdowns. Dealers will have to cut deeper than ever to move unsold 2025 units out of the way. Buyers who waited will find themselves with leverage to negotiate not just on outdated stock, but also on new arrivals, because manufacturers desperate for volume will layer incentives onto both. For patient riders, the savings will run into thousands of dollars. Instead of being punished for hesitation, they will be rewarded. The overlap of old and new will break the pricing structure wide open. MSRP theater. That discount you are offered? It is scripted theater. For decades, manufacturers and dealers perfected the art of manipulating price perception. A sticker might show $12,000, but hidden rebates, dealer cash, and financing trade-offs mean almost no one pays that figure. The problem is that these tricks worked best when buyers lacked information. Today, transparency is everywhere. Online forums, consumer groups, and valuation sites expose how loss leaders lure you in, how 0% financing quietly cancels out cash rebates, and how inflated fees pad the dealer's margin. Once a buyer learns the script, the power flips. The so-called deal becomes predictable, and predictable tactics lose their punch. A motorcycle advertised as starting under $6,000 might exist only as a stripped-down base model with manual everything, while the bike people actually want requires thousands more. This bait-and-switch, once routine, now backfires when frustrated riders post receipts online. Each exposure erodes the aura of pricing power the industry relied on. The psychology of theater is collapsing. By 2026, the curtain will fall for good, replaced by blunt markdowns that admit the real market value. And as the illusion fades, the Japanese giants that once defined reliability and value discover they can no longer stand apart. The Big Four get dragged. When Triumph sells for $5,000, Honda cannot keep charging $7,000. The Big Four, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, have long defended premium entry-level pricing on the basis of reputation, dealer networks, and proven reliability. But the arrival of aggressively priced imports has stripped that defense bare. Riders no longer compare a Honda Rebel only to another Japanese cruiser. They compare it to a Royal Enfield Hunter, a Triumph Speed 400, or a CF Moto naked bike that costs thousands less. For decades, Japanese manufacturers thrived on steady loyalty. Now they face the same value war dragging down Harley and the European brands. Already, whispers circulate of bundled gear packages, extended warranties, and financing specials designed to sweeten deals without cutting sticker prices outright. But that balancing act cannot last. The precedent set by cheaper imports resets expectations, and once a psychological ceiling has shifted, it rarely moves back up. Dealers quietly acknowledge the pressure. A customer comparing side-by-side spec sheets can no longer be steered by brand loyalty alone. When two machines deliver similar performance, but one costs thousands less, legacy pricing authority collapses in real time. This shift drags even the proudest brands into the mud of discounting. The fight is not about prestige anymore. It is about survival in the entry and mid-tier segments that sustain volume. And while the Big Four wrestle with falling margins, a political twist ensures the oversupply will only grow worse. Tariff judo. Tariffs hurt today, but they set up tomorrow's discounts. When governments reimpose tariffs on certain imported motorcycles, dealers braced for price hikes. In the short term, some models indeed cost more, but manufacturers did not stop building. Instead, they rerouted production, shifted factories, and built excess stock to hedge against volatility. That overreaction is already creating inventory bulges in warehouses around the globe. By 2026, that excess will land in showrooms like a tidal wave. The same tariffs that temporarily elevated prices will force companies to offload stock at steep discounts once the channels unclog. It is a kind of economic judo. The force meant to slow imports instead builds up momentum that crashes back as oversupply. Buyers who resisted panic and waited will be rewarded with markdowns as brands scramble to recover cash. Even suppliers admit the glut is unavoidable. Shipping containers rerouted to secondary ports are piling up, waiting for clearance. Each delay adds carrying costs, and those expenses will ultimately be eaten through markdowns, not absorbed quietly in balance sheets. This cycle also undermines trust. Riders see prices swing wildly based on policy rather than value, and they learn to delay purchases, knowing volatility usually ends with a sale. Political whiplash, not engineering, becomes the driver of affordability. And just as tariffs reshape supply chains, riders themselves are reshaping what kind of motorcycles even deserve their money. The use case revolution. Riders do not want luxury toys. They want honest machines again. For years, manufacturers padded price tags with chrome, giant screens, heated grips, and endless cosmetic packages. But the cultural tide has shifted. Younger buyers living in crowded cities want commuters that sip fuel, park easily, and cost less than a compact car. Adventure riders crave mid-sized dual sports that can handle highways and dirt without weighing 600 pounds. Even seasoned enthusiasts are discovering joy in practical mid-displacement standards that deliver real-world performance without bankrupting them. This use case revolution is fatal to inflated markups. A motorcycle designed to be a tool, not a trophy, cannot carry luxury pricing. Riders are asking, does it work? Does it last? Can I afford it? Not, does it sparkle? The trend mirrors what happened in the truck market. Buyers rejected rolling spas and demanded utility. As this preference spreads, manufacturers will be forced to cut the frills or cut the price. Social media has amplified this cultural pivot. Viral clips of riders celebrating simple, affordable bikes gain millions of views, while bloated luxury machines draw ridicule. The crowd has spoken. Practicality inspires envy now, and ostentation increasingly invites mockery. By 2026, the cultural expectation will be set. Motorcycles are supposed to be affordable, practical, and fit for purpose. Any brand that insists otherwise will be punished at the cash register. Margins collapse. The profit engines that funded electric dreams are stalling out. For more than a decade, motorcycle makers relied on fat margins from heavyweight cruisers, premium touring bikes, and high-end adventure machines to subsidize their experiments with electrification. Those profits are evaporating. Harley-Davidson's revenue decline, Polaris's slowing sales of Indian and softening volumes across the Japanese Big Four all reveal the same problem. Customers are unwilling to keep paying luxury prices in a market that is pivoting to value. When margins collapse, boardrooms panic. They begin cutting costs, freezing projects, and desperately chasing volume with discounts. The result is not just leaner operations, but also a willingness to sell bikes at or below cost to protect share. Shareholders may grumble about shrinking profits, but riders stand to benefit from unprecedented markdowns. Every percentage point lost in margin translates into hundreds or thousands of dollars in potential buyer savings. When profit cushions vanish, even sacred projects face the chopping block. Research into electric platforms, racing programs, and flashy prototypes gets sidelined, leaving companies exposed. That retreat signals weakness, and buyers know hesitation in boardrooms usually equals stronger discounts outside. Corporate finance departments once pushed for higher average selling prices. Now, they will push to move inventory in bulk. The boardroom's nightmare becomes the showroom's fire sale, and ordinary riders gain negotiating power they have not seen in years. And while manufacturers rethink their pricing, dealerships on the ground prepare their own arsenal of tactics to unload stock. Dealer Playbook. Here is how your dealer will try to move iron in 2026. Expect stacked incentives, factory rebates combined with dealer cash layered on top of low-interest financing. Expect bait models too, stripped-down base trims advertised online at an impossibly low starting price, only for the salesperson to nudge you toward the better-equipped version sitting on the lot. Gear credits will become common, offering helmets or jackets as part of the deal to mask the fact that the price was cut all along. The psychology is simple. Dealers know that once you are in the showroom, it is easier to persuade you to stretch a few $1,000s more than it is to watch you walk away. But this time, buyers hold the stronger hand. The oversupply means that walking away is not just possible, it is powerful. If you understand the playbook, you can use it against them. Stack the offers, demand the rebates, and pit dealers against each other. Some dealerships will even advertise limited weekend blowouts that repeat every month, designed to create false urgency. In 2026, buyers who recognize these staged countdowns can simply wait them out, forcing dealers into ever deeper concessions. The tactics that once manipulated customers now create opportunity. When desperation sets in, transparency favors the prepared buyer. Yet while dealers scramble with sales tricks, the broader political landscape ensures the turbulence will not end with discounts alone. Policy whiplash. 2026 will not just be a buyer's market, it will be an election year wildcard. Trade policy, tariffs, and regulatory shifts are colliding with consumer expectations in unpredictable ways. Section 301 exclusions have lapsed, tariffs on certain electric motorcycles remain in flux, and candidates are already seizing the issue to court industrial workers. The rhetoric of protection often results in whiplash pricing for buyers. One month, tariffs push costs higher, and the next month, loopholes or exemptions force manufacturers to unload stock at a discount. Dealers caught in this seesaw cannot plan inventory effectively, which means more volatility, more mismatched supply, and ultimately more incentive-driven clearances. Riders who pay close attention to political developments may find themselves timing purchases around policy announcements, almost like investors timing the market. Some riders already treat political calendars like shopping guides. A tariff hearing, a trade summit, or even a campaign promise can shift dealer pricing overnight. Savvy buyers track these signals, knowing volatility almost always rewards patience with bigger savings. The irony is that while politicians claim to be protecting domestic industry, the immediate winners are consumers. Every tariff twist and every regulatory delay creates another round of markdowns. Policy intended to shield producers instead showers buyers with leverage. And with politics, corporate panic, and dealership tricks all converging, the final question remains: how can ordinary riders turn this chaos into a personal win? But before we get there, make sure you hit subscribe right now, because the next video drops deeper into the storm, and if you miss it, you'll miss your chance to win. The buyer's advantage. If you wait, you win. 2026 is shaping up to be the once-in-a-cycle opportunity for motorcycle buyers. The strategy is straightforward, but requires patience. Wait for the overlap of old stock and new launches when dealers slash prices just to make room. Target value anchors like the Triumph Speed 400, the Royal Enfield Hunter 350, or CF Moto's mid-displacement models, because these set the benchmark for negotiations against higher-priced rivals. Stack every incentive you can. Choose cash rebates over flashy 0% financing when it saves more in the long run. Demand trade-in top-offs and gear credits, and do not hesitate to walk away if the numbers do not add up. Another dealer will match or beat them. Watch valuation guides and online forums for signs of wholesale markdowns, since those precede retail price cuts. The informed rider will not just save a little, they will save thousands. Patience is not just thrift, it is power. By 2026, the rider who resists impulse will control negotiations. Dealers chase you, manufacturers entice you, and every hesitation on your part squeezes another concession from theirs. The lesson of 2026 is clear. Manufacturers, dealers, and politicians are all losing control of the narrative. The rider holds the power. Those who wait will secure machines at prices the industry swore it would never allow again. And just as this cycle reshapes motorcycling, it leaves us with a bigger truth. The future of mobility belongs to those who know when to wait and when to strike. The market reset is coming, and by 2026, everything changes. Dealers will panic, manufacturers will fold, and the only people who win are the ones who saw it coming early. That's why you cannot stop here. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the updates that protect your wallet and your choices. Drop a like if this opened your eyes, and share it with another rider who needs the warning. This isn't just another story, it's your future on two wheels. Stay ready, because the next video is where the real edge begins.